Christmas Eve. The mall shimmered with music Astrid couldn't hear. She sat alone by the fountain, blinking away tears that no one noticed, until a little girl stopped mid-stride and tugged her father's sleeve. "Daddy, why is she crying?" The man looked up. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, the crowd disappeared. Astrid froze, shame burning her cheeks as she tried to hide her tears. Then his hands moved. He signed, "If you have nowhere to go tonight, come home with us." The world tilted. No stranger had ever spoken her language since her family stopped trying years ago. They had called her a burden, left her waiting in the cold with a text that said, "Family emergency." But this man, this father with kind eyes, and his daughter had seen what no one else did. A woman still hoping to be seen. And as the lights flickered and snow thickened against the glass, Astrid realized, this night wasn't ending in loneliness. It was only beginning. Sparkles subscribed to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where true kindness still changes lives. The food court's hum swallowed Astrid's heartbeat. She watched the man's hands move again. Slow, careful, the shapes familiar but rusty in her memory. "Come home with us," he signed once more, his eyes steady. Her lips parted. "Why?" she mouthed, unsure if the word formed right. He didn't answer with words. Instead, he gestured toward his daughter, small blonde curls under a red wool hat, who smiled so wide it softened everything sharp inside Astrid. The child held out her mittened hand. For a second, Astrid didn't move. Years of rejection had trained her to expect cruelty hidden behind kindness. But when she saw the girl's hand tremble, waiting, she exhaled and reached out. The man smiled. "Henry," he mouthed, tapping his chest, then pointed to the girl. "Audrey." Astrid pointed to herself. "Astrid." And just like that, something fragile shifted, loneliness cracking open under the weight of a simple act of care. Outside, the storm pressed against the mall's glass walls. The lights flickered again, plunging the atrium into half-darkness. People groaned, phones flashing as makeshift lanterns. Astrid's breath caught. Darkness had always been her oldest fear. Henry noticed instantly. He signed, "It's okay. I've got you." But panic doesn't speak the language of comfort. Shadows moved too quickly. People's mouths opened, shouting words she couldn't hear. Every flicker of light felt like the world collapsing. Then his hand. Warm, firm, grounding. Audrey clung to his other side, her eyes wide but calm. Together, they moved through the chaos like a small constellation in a sea of noise. A security guard blocked their way near the exit. His gestures were sharp, impatient. Astrid froze. The guard's mouth twisted with words she couldn't read in the dim glow. She thought, "He's angry I did something wrong." Henry stepped forward, signing and speaking at once. His tone was low, his presence steady. The guard hesitated, glanced at Astrid again, then waved them through. When the doors opened, snow swirled in like breath. Cold air bit at Astrid's skin, but it felt cleaner than the mall's stale light. They reached Henry's car, the windows already fogging from the storm. Audrey climbed in first, humming softly. Henry brushed snow from his coat, then turned to Astrid. "It's a rough night," he signed. "But we'll make it." She nodded. Her throat ached from holding in too much for too long. As the car pulled away, the city blurred into streaks of white. Streetlights became halos. Astrid watched them through the glass, her reflection faint, a ghost beside a family she barely knew. Audrey leaned forward from the back seat, signing clumsily. "You're safe now." Astrid smiled. It was the first real smile she'd felt in months. At Henry's apartment, warmth spilled from the doorway like an embrace. The walls were lined with paper snowflakes and crayons drawings labeled, "Daddy and Me." A small tree stood in the corner, half-decorated, blinking with mismatched lights. Henry signed with a shy grin. "Not much. But it's home." Astrid shook her head. To her it was perfect. Audrey rushed off, returning with a blanket. "For you," she said out loud, pressing it into Astrid's hands. The softness made her eyes sting. They drank hot chocolate that smelled of cinnamon and childhood. Audrey chatted, Henry listened, and Astrid watched the way light touched their faces, the way love filled the small room like music she could almost hear. For hours no one asked about her past. No one pitied her. The silence wasn't empty. It was peace. Later that night, Henry handed her a notepad. You can stay here if you need. No questions. Just warmth, he'd written. Astrid hesitated, then took the pen. Her handwriting wavered. Thank you. My family didn't want me tonight. Henry's eyes softened. Their loss, he wrote. You deserve more than that. She wanted to believe him. But scars built over years don't fade in one evening. A knock broke the quiet. Hard. Demanding. Henry opened the door and froze. A woman stood outside, elegant coat, perfect hair, fury in her eyes. Astrid's breath vanished. Amanda. Her sister stormed inside without invitation, scanning the room like an investigator. Her gaze landed on Astrid. What are you doing here? Amanda's voice was sharp, words slicing the air. Astrid could read the shape of every insult. Running away. Embarrassing us again. Henry stepped forward. Excuse me, you can't just. Amanda ignored him. You think strangers want to deal with you. You think pity is family. Audrey peeked from behind the couch, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her small face twisted with anger. She's nice. You're the mean one. Amanda turned, eyes narrowing. Stay out of this, little girl. Henry's patience snapped. His hands moved firmly as he spoke, making sure Astrid saw every word. She's staying here because you abandoned her. You don't get to waltz in now and pretend you care. Amanda's lips curled. You don't know our family. I know cruelty when I see it, he said. Astrid stood, trembling. Her hands lifted. I'm not broken, she signed fiercely. I'm not your shame. Amanda froze, startled by the sudden strength in those movements. You left me waiting tonight, Astrid continued, each sign precise, defiant. Like always. But I'm done begging to belong. For a moment, the only sound was Audrey's small sniffle. Amanda's face flushed. Fine. Stay with your charity project. She turned to Henry. You'll regret this. No, Henry said quietly. I won't. Amanda's hand twitched toward Astrid's coat pocket, the card still there. You were going to brag, weren't you? Show off your little art thing. Pathetic. Astrid pulled the envelope free and laid it on the table. The certificate glimmered under the Christmas lights. International Illustration Grand Prize winner. Henry's eyes widened. Audrey gasped. Amanda's smirk faltered. You didn't even know, Henry said. You didn't even care. Amanda's mask cracked. She reached for the paper, but Henry caught her wrist. Leave. The word was low, final. For once, Amanda obeyed. The door slammed behind her, leaving silence thick as snow. Astrid sank to the couch. Her hands shook. Henry knelt in front of her, signing slowly. You did it. You stood up. Tears spilled down her face. She signed back. I'm scared but free. Audrey crawled into her lap, whispering. She was wrong, Miss Astrid. You're perfect. Astrid hugged her tightly, feeling warmth seep through every frozen corner of her heart. Days passed. Snow gave way to sunlight. Astrid began drawing again. Sketches of hands signing kindness, of a small girl laughing under falling snow, of a man holding out hope in silence. Her art went viral online after Henry quietly posted it with her permission. The caption read, "Kindness has its own language." Comments flooded in, people sharing, donating, writing letters of support in sign language videos. Meanwhile, Amanda's world began to crumble. Word spread that her cruel confrontation had been caught on the mall's security cameras. When the clip surfaced online, her shouting, Astrid's trembling hands, the contrast of venom and grace, it went everywhere. Thousands condemned her arrogance. The company she managed suspended her for violating their inclusion policy. The same evening, the award organization invited Astrid to give a keynote speech, translated in sign language, to inspire others facing discrimination. The story reached the news under one headline: The Deaf Artist Who Taught the World to Listen. On Christmas night, a year later, Astrid stood beneath the same mall's glittering tree. Reporters waited, cameras rolling. Henry and Audrey stood beside her, proud. She signed to the crowd. "A year ago, I sat here alone. Tonight, I stand with a family I chose. And who chose me?" Applause rippled like thunder she could not hear but could feel. In the distance, Amanda watched, face pale under the lights, realizing too late that silence could scream louder than words. As snow began to fall again, Audrey reached for Astrid's gloved hand, the same glove she'd knitted months ago. "Can we go home now?" the little girl asked. Astrid smiled. "Yes, sweetheart," she signed. "Let's go home." The camera pulled back, 3 figures walking through the snow, laughter flickering in the glow of Christmas lights. And for the first time in years, the world didn't feel silent, felt whole. That winter melted into spring, and Astrid's world no longer felt silent. Her hands no longer trembled when she signed. They spoke with confidence, shaping stories that reached thousands. She had stopped waiting for her family to see her worth. Instead, she had built one of her own. The little girl who once reached out to her in a crowded mall now called her mom, and Henry's quiet strength had become the steady rhythm of her days. On the anniversary of that Christmas Eve, Astrid stood before her class of deaf students, drawing a heart in the air. "Kindness," she signed, "is the loudest language." The children smiled, their hands moving together like light. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft, forgiving, and bright. It no longer reminded her of loneliness, but of beginnings. If this story moved you, help us keep these voices alive. Like, share, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where true stories of courage and change continue to be heard.